Today I'm going to be showing all of my horses that I have on SSO. I'm a 12-year-long SSO player, soon to be 13-year player this year. Some horses have more of a story behind them and others don't, but I do think it's kind of special looking back on all the horses I've purchased over the years and looking at their stories. I'll be going through my horses chronologically and somewhat organizing it by generation. However, some horses have been bought at different times, not correlated to their generation release. Now, without further ado, I present to you my very first Star Stable horse is Evening Mane. Evening Mane came into the world on October 22nd, 2012. And although he is currently a dapple gray, he was not always a dapple gray. Originally, he was a chestnut with 4 white socks and a dark brown mane. One day I hope to revert him back to his old self, but for now he will be stuck as a dapple gray. Next up is Ravenfire. I purchased Ravenfire October 18th of 2013, and he is a Danish warmblood. At some point after that, I sold him. And recently I asked SSO to return my sold horses, and he showed up back in my barn. Not gonna lie, he is a bit crusty, so I can see why I sold him, but you know what? I'm glad he's back. Next up is my Jorvik pony, Silver Eagle. He was purchased January 18th of 2014. Unfortunately, he was also a horse that I sold. Fortunately though, I was able to get him back recently with the return of my sold horses. The next horse I bought was my American paint horse, Hawkeye. Unknowingly, I named this horse the same name of a popular Marvel character. Had no idea, I swear, I was 11 years old. And unfortunately, similar to my other Gen 1 horses, I also sold this horse, but fortunately I was able to, again, get him back recently. Next is one of my absolute favorite horses I've ever purchased, Dream Cloud. I purchased Dream Cloud May 5th of 2015. She is a Frisian sport horse, also known as the Oreo Frisian Gen 1 edition. This horse was always super special to me due to the fact that I used her in a lot of role plays growing up. People who roleplayed back in 2015 probably remember the Andy Frisian only role plays. Yeah, I bought this horse so I could do that, and I thought she was the most beautiful horse ever. Still do. Next horse on my list is Thunderstar. I purchased Thunderstar on February 22nd, 2015. I don't know what it is, but I never actually bought an actual Frisian. I was just obsessed with Frisian sport horses, which is what Thunderstar is. And although it's a bit cringe, I named this horse Thunderstar because I was reading Warrior Cat books at the time, and you know what? I think it's kind of wholesome looking back and seeing my obsessions affecting the names of my horses. The 7th horse I bought was Autumn Feather. I got her on February 25th of 2015. I bought this horse because I wanted a real Frisian and not just a Frisian sport horse. So apparently I could read the Warrior Cats books, but I couldn't read a breed label. But yes, I seriously bought this horse so I could have a normal Gen 1 Frisian, but guys, it was not in fact a regular Frisian. The last Gen 1 horse that I would buy during the prime time for Gen 1 horses was Stormcry, an Irish cob. I purchased him on February 28th, 2015. I don't really remember why I bought him, but this was the first horse I bought that didn't have any black markings on it, so I do think that was probably a factor in choosing him. This was around the time where I would finally start picking horses that had a little bit more flavor and weren't just black and white. That concludes all of the Generation 1 horses I bought prior to the release of the Generation 2 American Quarter horses, effectively starting a new era for SSO in terms of the quality of their horses. I know some people might be wondering why so few Gen 1 horses, and that's because I couldn't get membership for the first 3 years of my time on SSO. It wasn't until late 2015 when I started getting back into it as a 13-year-old that I really started to appreciate the game more and try to convince my parents to get me a membership. Having said that, I was able to buy a few more than just 8 horses during the time Generation 2 was taking the spotlight, so let's get into that. After a couple of months break on SSO, on December 26th, I purchased Smoke Warrior. Believe it or not, this was the horse that got me back into Star Stable. I was obsessed with the more realistic animations and the blinking and just the idle animations. Ugh, it pulled me right in. February 10th, 2016 marked a special day in my SSO journey. This was the day I finally got a lifetime membership. And naturally, I couldn't resist the urge to immediately spend some of that new allowance on a brand new horse. This new horse was a buckskin Morgan that I named Summerfire. The name Summerfire was meant to be a reference, I believe, to Natsu, a character from Fairy Tail, which was the first anime I ever watched. I would have been 13 years old at the time, and honestly, I find it a little bit wholesome to be able to kind of look back and be able to almost catalog when and where my interests were occurring based on my horses' names. The next horse I bought with my lifetime allowance was Time Master, a Bay Tobiano Icelandic. The name Time Master is supposed to be a reference to Doctor Who, I believe, but I'm gonna be honest, I've never actually watched Doctor Who, so I don't really know why I did that. The next horse that I bought was Onyx Rebel, a English thoroughbred on April 9th, 2016. I remember this horse was extremely difficult to train for some reason. I don't know why, but I really just didn't enjoy training this horse. The next horse I bought was an American Paint horse that I named Wolfsong on May 28th, 2016. At the time, original animation was all the rage on YouTube. Short films, multiple animated projects, etc. One of my favorites was a short film called Wolfsong, and so when I bought this horse, I thought the name was good. And unfortunately, this specific American Paint horse suffers from a serious case of glitched mane. One of the most exciting days in SSO history for me was the day that the Generation 2 Friesians came out. I named my Friesian Onyx Soul, and I bought the more brown shade of the three that were there. Every time I see this horse, I'm reminded of fond memories. Ravenwings, aka Levi, joined my stable on October 5th, 2016. At this point, I'm just gonna let y'all figure out the references on your own. I remember this horse was really special because I think it was the first one that could do a special move while stationary. It also is bugged now and winks whenever it turns its head, but I think it's kinda cute. The next horse I purchased was a Dapple Grey Morgan that I decided to name Spellborn on November 23rd, 2016. I think there was a reason I named this horse Spellborn, but unfortunately it's been so long that I've since forgotten why. November 25th, 2016 was a very exciting day because it was my first time ever buying star coins in the entire time that I'd played SSO. In total, I purchased 7 horses on that day, and that included a Dapple Grey Morab named Greywind, a Blue Roan Quarter Horse named Blue Star, a Liver Chestnut Welsh named Cocoa Chip, a Chestnut Shire named Noble King, a Grey Frisian Sport Horse named Snowkiss, an American Paint horse named Hollow Promise, and a Dapple Grey Thoroughbred named Ice Prince, aka Victor. Ice Prince was supposed to be a matching horse with another horse that I bought about a month later named Light Ice, aka Yuri. I purchased Crimson Secret, a Bay Tobiano Mustang, on December 28th, 2016. I don't remember a lot about this horse except for the fact that everybody was really excited about the bucking animation. I was clearly on a Mustang kick because on January 4th, 2017, I purchased Dark Effect. Every time I see this horse, I immediately think of the cookies and cream Hershey's bar. The next horse I purchased was a Morgan named Vanilla Petal on March 18th, 2017. I remember wanting to name this horse Lilac Petal, and I was very frustrated because I had to settle for Vanilla Petal instead. The next horse was a halflinger named Angel Wings that I purchased on June 4th of 2017. I actually sold this horse shortly after buying it, but I got it back recently in my return to sold horses. On October 4th, 2017, I purchased Silver Bullet, a black and white Pentabian. This is the only Pentabian I own, and honestly, I really wish I would have bought more. I really like this horse. I purchased Onyx Prince, the Dapple Grey Connemara, on December 9th, 2017. This is one of my favorite pony breeds in the entire game, and this is the only Connemara that I own. SSO, please put these horses in the bazaar, thank you. Nearly a month later, I purchased the Gen 2 Spotted Frisian Sport Horse that I named Space Escape. This horse was made in likeness to the original Oreo Frisian, and I loved this horse just as much as I loved the original, and it is still one of my favorite horses to this day. I purchased Sunstar, the North Swedish horse, on February 19th, 2018. Every time I see this horse, I think of a white cheddar Cheez-It. I don't know why, it's just the first thing that comes to mind. Honestly, I think overall this horse is okay, but I don't really feel as in love with it as I was when I was a kid. The next horse I purchased was a bay Lusitano named Crimson Beauty on April 19th, 2018. I really loved this horse when it first released, but I can definitely say it looks a little bit rough around the edges these days. Shortly thereafter, I purchased Love Spell, another Lusitano. I believe this horse was released in a second wave of Lusitano coats, and I just remember loving this one so much more than the first one that I'd bought. Although I don't ride this horse, it does have a special place in my heart still. I purchased Faraway, the Jorvik pony, on July 22nd, 2018. Overall, I do like this pony actually, but the animations are a little bit wonky to me, and also every time I look at it, I can't help but feel it looks a lot like a big round potato. The next horse I bought was a Trakehner named Red Lion on September 21st, 2018. I was super into Voltron at the time, hence the name Red Lion. Unfortunately, I never got around to buying another horse to name Blue Lion. On February 7th, 2019, I purchased my very first fjord across all generations of horses. I named that fjord Marble Cake. Although I like fjords in real life quite a bit, I do feel like the SSO Gen 3 ones are kind of lackluster, so I do hope they get a revamp soon. On February 7th, 2019, I purchased a dapple gray Clydesdale named Big Boy. I really dislike this horse because most of the animations are either broken or just simply wrong, and also a lot of the time it just looks very uncanny and out of style. Plus, it looks like it's trying to take a poop every time it backs up. The next horse I purchased was a bay Trakehner named Hotspot. I got this horse specifically as a club horse for a club I was trying to join, and well, let's just say I'm not in that club anymore. I do actually like this horse though, and I won't lie, it is a little cool to have a horse with a name that can no longer be made in-game. On May 22nd, 2019, I purchased a Chincoteague pony that I named Coffee Bean. This is one of the breeds in the game that I couldn't really care more or care really less about. It's nice enough, but just not my personal cup of tea. I purchased Greyway and Aquatech on June 12th, 2019. I don't really have any specific memories with this horse, but it is one of my personal favorites in terms of older Gen 3s. Moonstone is my first Andalusian that I've purchased, and I got her on August 17th, 2019. I was absolutely obsessed with this horse and the breed when it first came out. I purchased my current one and only curly horse, Amethyst Mountain, on November 24th, 2019. This horse's name is a reference to Amethyst Mountain, the place in Yellowstone, but more specifically Amethyst Mountain in Wolf Quest. Exactly 1 month later, I purchased Hilltop, my Irish cob. I do personally like this breed quite a bit, I just really wish they could wear leg wraps. March 11th, 2020, I purchased Water Dragon, aka Gyu. I really liked the nab struppers when they first released, but I don't know what it is, I just really dislike them in this day and age for some reason. About a month later, I purchased Red Wings. The only reason I purchased Red Wings was because I didn't yet own a Generation 2 Hanoverian, so I really wanted to complete my Gen 2 collection. On April 14th of 2020, I purchased 2 Jorvik Warmbloods. These 2 horses were Ravendale and Sunbeam. Poppy is a red roan American quarter horse that I purchased on April 22nd, 2020. Unfortunately, this horse seems to be getting a bit buggier with each update, but overall I still do like her. The 50th horse I purchased on SSO was a blue roan quarter horse that I decided to name Cold Gaze. I do actually really like this horse despite its flaws, and I do think that the blue roan coat that it has held up really well over the years. So that concludes part 1 of my horses in SSO. I'm ending it here because this editing format, although I like being able to give as much detail as I do and talk about each horse, when you have, that many horses, it does get to be extremely tedious, and we're not even a quarter of the way through, which is bonkers. By the time I finish editing this series, I'll probably have more than that amount. This will probably end up being a 5-part series or so, and by the end I will put all the videos together and make one large, huge video on this most likely. But until then, that concludes part 1. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you all soon!